On the 7th day of the Cold War with my arranged marriage husband, I threw up good news. I was pregnant. Bad news. He was infertilized, ran back to parents' house in the night and threw the pregnancy test on my brother's bed. My mom fainted when she saw it, and my dad was so mad he gave him a beating and told him to bring my sister-in-law home. Oops, bro. You take the blame for this one. Later on, when my girlfriend and I went to the hospital for abortion counseling, we were bumped into by the arranged marriage husband. I wimped out and filed for divorce. I leave with nothing and won't let you be an unexpected father. His face was cold as hell, and he clutched my wrist tightly. Let my daughter call out to a wild man's father. You're thinking beautifully. Rose weaving romantic dream. Chase to see Rose romantic meaning endless thought, a way to romance endlessly. Be sure to like, comment, forwarding, attention, open the small bell, beautiful drama on time, embrace. Jo Soo Lin is 8 years older than me. The nature of the cold. I'm not sure if he's a good guy or not. Even my brother spit. Elite social circle, every woman crave his face, but no one wants to marry him. Not long ago, my company is on the verge of bankruptcy. Is his hand to help my family flat 300 million accounts. Why dad is grateful, almost to him on his knees. Jo Soo Rin put forward a request, and my marriage cannot return 300 million. Is a man. And so is my brother. So the person he was referring to was left with me. All these years I have been lying down and chewing on my father. I feel a little guilty, so I agreed to the marriage. A month later, I married into the Jo family in style, because Mrs. Jo is not Jo Soo Rin's real mother. The relationship between the two is very cold, so I didn't have the troublesome mother-in-law-daughter-in-law relationship. And no one pushed me to have a child. It wasn't until I saw Jo Soo Rin's medical report that I realized he was infertility. No wonder he never mentioned children and fumed about it. The original is unable to give birth, but my body is small, cannot stand his night and day tossing, often refused him. Jo Soo Lin did not force me to go to the bathroom to solve the problem. Married life is quite nourishing, but there are accidents. Once heard me and my girlfriends complained of boredom at home. Jo Soo Lin will take the initiative to give me a lot of interest classes. In the evening to hear my report, I stood in front of him like an elementary school student performing programs. I didn't learn well. He had a stern face and hit me on the palm of my hand with a ruler. What's even more breathless is that when I was in bed, I was so confused by him that I was crying out for my husband in a petulant voice. Suddenly leaned over to my ear and asked me how to say husband in French. That day I couldn't stand it any longer. I kicked him out of bed and had a big fight with him and then went into a Cold War. Today is the 7th day of the Cold War. Jo Soo Rin was sitting at the dining table, coffee in his left hand, looking down at the tablet. The scratch on his forehead has turned a light pink color. That day I had just finished taekwondo. I kicked him off the bed, and my forehead just hit the corner of the cabinet, cutting a bloody gash of about 1 centimeter. I left him alone and he went downstairs to get himself plastered. Went back to bed in his room as usual for the next few days, but just wouldn't talk to me. Careful man. I ate 2 bites of the meat bun and felt a bit tired, so I casually threw it onto my plate. Jo Soo Rin suddenly looked up, then lowered it again. Still not speaking. My cell phone buzzed, and my girlfriend kept sending messages warning, don't talk to him first. I told you old men love to pretend they want you to apologize first. Just chill him for a few days. Besides, his desire is so strong that he can't help it, so we must make him apologize to you. The more my girlfriend said, the more angry. The back directly send voice, accidentally pressed out, directly let the opposite side of the person raised his head. Jo Soo Rin's eyes were dark, and his gaze slowly fell on my face, staring for a few seconds, suddenly got up and pulled the chair away. I was ready to have a big fight. I directly froze. He just left, like a punch in the cotton. Upsetting, gave me gas hungry, grabbed the bun and ate a few bites, but saw Jo Soo Rin's assistant suddenly walked over, respectfully saying to me, ma'am, Mr. asked you to be careful to protect his privacy and not to discuss his personal matters with your friends. Was so angry that I gave him a middle finger and left the restaurant in a huff. Just as I got back to my room, a wave of nausea flooded my stomach, rushed into the bathroom and threw up my entire breakfast, eating and throwing up all day long. Lying on my bed, I sighed and texted my best friend, I'm sick baby, you're not pregnant, are you? My best friend's question scared me. I rushed to buy a pregnancy test online. Good news, impregnant. Bad news, he is infertility. This baby is not Jo Soo Rin's. Just a week ago, I missed French class and went to a bar with my girlfriends. The dance floor, I met an innocent college guy, Guan Yi. His face was handsome, not as good as Jo Soo Rin's, but he was sweet-talking, and made me and my girlfriends happy. Ordered tens of thousands of dollars worth of wine and invited him and his friends to drink. At the end of the day, Guanyi asked me for WeChat and why girlfriends encouraged me to add him, but I just took out my cell phone, and a superb but cool face suddenly popped up in front of me, put away my cell phone and refused him. That was the first time we met, and then the second time turned out to be in bed. That day I went to dessert class and met Guanyi, was the assistant of the dessert class teacher, and because of his acquaintance, he took extra care of me. I didn't realize that he caused a female student to become jealous and drugged my milk tea days. I seemed to beg Guanyi to take me to the hotel, and soon my body reacted. Guanyi kept shouting at me to wake up, hooked his neck, eagerly kissed. My husband does not care about me. I don't know if it's an illusion. I feel that after saying this sentence, Guanyi's breath suddenly has a hint of more aggression. That big hand gripped my waist, hot and slippery. Did you take the medicine before taking the initiative? I whimpered and couldn't make a sound as he wrapped his arms around me and rolled over onto his back. The lights didn't go out that night. It was like floating on a boat, so dizzying. When I opened my eyes again, Guano was gone. Even the smell had disappeared completely. When I got home, I soaked in the bathtub for 3 hours, my skin washed and wrinkled before I came out. At night, Joe Zurin wanted to do it, and I refused. Instead, he didn't solve it himself like before, pulling my hand and tossing it until midnight. The next day my wrist hurt so much that I couldn't hold my chopsticks, and when Mrs. Joe asked, I blushed and didn't know how to respond, only to stare at Joe Surin. Joe Surin, who has always disliked talking to Mrs. Joe, spoke faintly. You don't need to ask about the private matters between husband and wife. Mrs. Joe instantly understood, hastily changed the topic, talking about the illegitimate child I never knew. She chattered a bunch of things, but did not let Joe Surin's emotions have half a point of ups and downs. With a flat expression, he blocked Mrs. Joe's mouth with a single sentence, let him be at peace until he graduates, then I'll give him a chance to recognize his ancestors, otherwise, even you will have to move out of the Joe family. That was the first time I saw his temper. I looked down at the pregnancy test, and I couldn't help but feel cold. Joe Surin knew that the child was not his. I would also be kicked out of the Joe family. Even worse, I packed my bags overnight and ran back to parents' house, not paying attention to bringing the pregnancy test back as well. Before I was discovered, I threw the pregnancy test onto my brother's bed. My mom fainted when she saw it, and my dad was so angry that he gave him a beating and told him to bring my sister-in-law home quickly. My brother hid while shouting injustice. I really don't have a girlfriend. Don't beat me up, sister. Sister, you come out and save me. Oops, bro, this pot first for you to carry. Back in the room, I sent a message to Joe Surin. Husband, my mom misses me. I'm going home for a few days, don't miss me. I didn't expect Joe Surin to reply quickly. Frowny face. How many days? I frowny face. 365 days. I typed it in my mind. I quickly withdrew frowny face. 1 month. Joe Surin. Frowny face. Are you hiding something from me? The veins on my forehead jumped violently, and I typed in a panic. Frowny face. No, you're busy with work. Joe Surin no longer reply. I breathed a sigh of relief, then began to worry. How am I going to get rid of this child without moving? I couldn't figure it out. I went to test my best friend, and she scolded me sternly. This woman is crazy, right? Even played out the child. I said weakly, what if this woman is me? My girlfriend was silent for a long time, but then again, isn't Joe Surin at fault? Every time he did it for so long you didn't get pregnant. Is he sick? You just made the mistake that all men in the world would make, wanting to leave him a child, even though this child is not his. My girlfriend couldn't stop talking and I couldn't stop listening. So she said, I have decided to abort this child. My best friend suddenly asked, then do you want to ask the baby's real father? That college guy student named Guanyi. Speaking of the baby's real father, I hesitated. It seems like he does have the right to know, but he's disappeared without a trace since that day. So odds are he's a scumbag too. No point in asking him. I am in charge of my belly. The night before, my best friend was advising me not to have a baby, forwarding me so many videos about how hard it is to get pregnant and raise a baby. The next day she didn't want to give up and directly put out a bold statement. If you want to have a baby, I'll raise it. She dragged me to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor said I was pregnant for a month. It's about the same time I cheated on her. Sure enough, it's not Joe Surin's child. I grabbed my best friend's hand and said, I don't want the baby. I can't give birth to him. She patted my shoulder and comforted me. Baby, don't be afraid. The doctor looked stunned and asked, the baby's father didn't come? I was a little afraid to face it. My best friend explained for me, the baby's father is not here, only the mom and sister-in-law. The doctor made an O sound, looked down at my message, and suddenly asked again, are you sure you don't want this child? I nodded with difficulty. Jo-soo Rin suddenly called, pressed the button and he called again, repeatedly 3 times. The doctor advised me to talk to my husband, but, the child is not his. I held the phone ready to go outside the clinic to answer the phone, pushed open the door but saw standing outside the door with an unhappy face of the man, section ID equals /article truck /06. My brain immediately pulled the alarm for escape, but my feet felt like they were rooted to the ground and I couldn't move. After locking eyes with him for a few seconds, I vainly spoke. Why you? Jo-soo Rin's gaze fell faintly on my face and abruptly frowned, frightened. I hurriedly changed my words. Why did you come to the hospital? Is it because you're not feeling well? I pretended to be concerned about him, then quietly put my hand holding the diagnostic sheet behind my back. Jo-soo Rin lowered his eyes and used my words to ask me back. Then why did you come to the hospital again? Is it because you're not feeling well? Originally weak-minded, I nervously pulled up a smile. I accompanied Yao Yao here, hiccuped just as I finished my sentence, stepped back in panic, and Jo-soo Rin suddenly stepped forward and pinched my chin. Lie again, I whispered back, no, and hiccuped again, then it completely stopped. Damn it, why do you get hiccups when you lie? I slapped my chest hard and was caught by Jo-soo Rin's wrist, who slapped me on the back a few times without being gentle, then caught me off guard and unscrewed the door to the clinic. Chin Yao thought it was me coming back and blurted out, baby, I still suggest you give birth and then divorce Jo-soo Rin. When she saw the visitor clearly, she screamed out in shock. Jo-soo Rin looked at Chin Yao expressionless, but his tone was cold. Ms. Chen, please don't bring my wife down. Then he nodded to the attending doctor and his voice turned gentle. Hello, I am Meng Wanning's husband. The doctor looked at us and suddenly smiled. Your wife is pregnant, congratulations. A residual light saw Jo-soo Rin's body stiffen and slowly nodded his head. It's over, I'm going to be finished. But the doctor couldn't see the situation and asked again, do you want this child? Yes. Don't, and I spoke at the same time. The doctor helplessly closed the medical record book and handed it over. You guys go home and think about it seriously. Before leaving, the doctor called out to Jo-soo Rin. The first trimester of pregnancy is unstable, don't stimulate the pregnant woman, pay attention to her diet and emotions, and be coaxed. Looking at the doctor's serious face, thinking that it was Jo-soo Rin who had provoked me and advised him, I was really like a man in the back. It's not him coaxing me, it's me who has to coax him. Jo-soo Rin put me on the passenger side and just closed the car door. Chin Yao rushed over and was stopped by him. Miss Chen, please stop, he said. Chin Yao's tone was urgent. Jo-soo Rin, please don't hurt Evening. No matter how many unforgivable mistakes she has made, she is your wife. Was almost moved to tears as I held my hands to the car window, worthy of being my good bosom friend, still helping me draw fire even at this hour. I tapped on the glass, trying to interact with my bestie, but it drew a cold glance from Jo-soo Rin. I know. He turned his head to Chin Yao. That's why I'm taking her home. Watched Chin Yao turn into a small blacked the rearview mirror before I reluctantly averted my gaze, then lowered my head and twisted my fingers uneasily. Jo-soo Rin's low voice came from my ears. Seatbelt. I dawdled to tug on the seatbelt, my fingers just touching. Suddenly leaned over and wrapped his large, broad palm around my hand, ducked back and hit the glass, grunting in pain. Jo-soo Rin did not comfort me, yanked over the seatbelt and buckled it, then sat back and started the car. This was the calm before the storm, and once I got home I was screwed, was really scared and quietly took out my cell phone to send a message to my brother. Just as I typed the word help, the phone was jerked away. Who are you messaging? I averted my gaze sheepishly. It's my brother, tell him I'm not going back. Jo-soo Rin gave me a look and smoothly put the phone into his jacket pocket. When I arrived at the place, I didn't wait for Jo-soo Rin to run quickly into the house, but when I entered the door, I bumped into Mrs. Jo, who was full of spring, and she suddenly took my hand and enthusiastically walked towards the living room, introducing me. Evening Ning, this is my son, Guanyi. I looked up. The teenager in front of me was wearing a black biker suit. His features were distinct, handsome. The moment he opened his mouth and called me sister-in-law, I felt like the sky had collapsed. Guanyi called out to me again. Hello, sister-in-law. I froze in place. You, hello. Jo-soo Rin walked to my side and reached out to take my shoulders. Looking towards the teenager who was equal to his height, he asked in a deep voice, why haven't you left yet? Guanyi nuzzled, weren't you the one who told me to meet my sister-in-law? He was as smiley as before. Sister-in-law, this is our first time meeting, please take care of me. Don't know if it was intentional or not, but Guanyi deliberately emphasized the word first time when he said it. Hearing that, I panicked in my heart and was Bit unable to stand, my body softened and leaned on Jo Soo-rin, saying weakly, "Hubby, I'm not too comfortable, I want to go back to my room." Seeing this, Mrs. Jo busily asked, "Where is Lian Ning uncomfortable? Do you need to call the family doctor over?" I hastily refused, and the moment I turned around I saw a hint of a promising smile flash across the bottom of Guan Ye's eyes. Frightened, I jumped headfirst into Jo Soo-rin's chest, my arms wrapped tightly around his waist. Jo Soo-rin was stunned and picked me up at the waist and walked towards the second floor. Back in my room, I bounced up just as I sat down on the bed and said shower to him before rushing into the bathroom, sat down on the toilet and started sending messages. "Brother, what if I accidentally cheated on you?" My brother replied back in seconds, frowny face. "What else can I do?" I had to send a song to Jo Soo-rin. "How can I bear to blame you for making a mistake? It's me who gave you too much freedom." Finished, he sent a paragraph of his own singing voice. Listened to both eyes black and black, directly pulled black him, thinking of Guan Yi is downstairs. I was anxious like ants on a hot pan, and wanted to send him 1,000 miles to tell him I am pregnant with your child. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door and I asked, "Who is it?" Then I saw the handrail turn. I immediately jumped up and jumped over to close it, but half of Jo Soo-rin's body was already poking in. I was angry and shy. "I'm going to the toilet, why are you coming in?" Jo Soo-rin scanned me up and down and pointed out sternly, "You haven't taken off your pants." Was speechless, staring at him with beautiful eyes. He squeezed his whole body in and brought the door closed with his backhand, was instantly alert. "You need a shower, I'll go out first." Just as I took a step he scooped me into his arms and turned me around to sit on his lap. Washed together, Jo Soo-rin's thumb rubbed the inside of my wrist, stirring up a thin layer of goosebumps on my skin. "I don't want to." I struggled twice as he took control. "You're pregnant, it's inconvenient to as," he said this. One hand probed into my shirt to unbutton my corset. Instantly blushed, my brain feverishly blurted out, "But he is not your child." That strange hand abruptly stopped, hanging in front of my chest, head slowly raised. The pair of eyes that penetrated with coldness made me shiver, and my fingers couldn't stop trembling, before he lost his hand and threw me out. I abashedly filed for divorce. "It's me who's sorry. I leave with nothing and won't let you be an unexpected father." Was even relieved when I finally said it, but Jo Soo-rin's face is very bad. That hand tightly clenched my wrist, stared at me for a long time, and a hint of a smile actually surfaced on his face, letting my daughter call out to a wild man's father, "You think beautifully." Looking at his leathery smile, I was even more scared and pushed him away, wanting to get up. Jo Soo-rin, however, single-handedly held my waist. "Take a bath. No, you've been in the hospital for a long time. Do you think I'm dirty?" I was a bit angry. I know he has a slight cleanliness fetish, but how can he think I'm dirty? Jo Soo-rin, it's the air that's dirty. And people are dirty too. During the time he was talking to me, Jo Soo-rin took off all the clothes on my body. I looked down and instantly covered my eyes in shame. "Jo Soo-rin, you're not allowed to look." He laughed lowly. "Then you should cover my eyes." Being reminded by him, I panicked again to cover his eyes. Then when I saw that the clothes were all neatly and properly worn on him, I was so angry that my teeth itched, and I directly reached out to pick them off. "You take them off for me as well." After washing for nearly an hour, only then did I come out of the bathroom and lazily plopped down on the bed. The skincare on my body and face was done by Jo Soo-rin, and the pajamas were also put on by Jo Soo-rin for me. Because I was tired of moving my fingers, I didn't have the strength to roll over. I lay on my back on the bed and watched Jo Soo-rin go in and out, and in his hand there was suddenly an extra basin of water, a few bottles and jars and towels. Sat on the edge of the bed and rolled me over to lie on my back. His fingertips just lifted the corner of my skirt, which I clutched. "What are you doing? Abort the child, please let me go to the hospital." Jo Soo-rin raised his eyebrows. "Stretch mark cream. I was confused. Thought I heard wrong. Jo Soo-rin picked up a white bottle and handed it over, asking, "Which brand do you like?" I looked blankly at the stack of stretch mark cream in the tray, then turned my head and pointed to the one in his hand. "This one." Didn't realize that he even bought stretch mark cream right after I confirmed my pregnancy. Had an indescribable feeling in my heart. While I was lost in thought, Jo Soo-rin lowered his head and suddenly kissed me on my stomach. I covered my stomach in a panic. "What are you doing?" Jo Soo-rin was all serious, saying hello to the baby. My eyes widened in shock and I didn't know what to say. Then I saw Jo Soo-rin put a towel into warm water, wrung it out and unfolded it on my stomach. After waiting for half a minute, he took away the towel, picked up the stretch mark cream and squeezed it into his palm until it was rubbed hot, then applied it from the bottom of my stomach to the top His movements were slow and gentle. I couldn't help but grunt. He looked up and asked Itchy. I whispered back, "It's okay." Joe Zurin hummed a bit, then applied it from the center outwards, did it a dozen times over and over, pulled his pajamas back up, covered himself with the quilt and said to me, "You go to sleep first." Was too comfortable being served by him and lazily spoke, "I'll wait for you." Joe Zurin got up and turned his back to me. His voice was a bit dark. "No, it'll be a long time. You go to sleep first." After saying that, he carried the basin into the bathroom. I lay on the bed and stared at the bathroom. He did stay in the bathroom for a long time, so long that I do not know when he returned to the bed, when to carry me into the arms. When I woke up the next day, Joe Zurin was still missing. The president is just busy, but busy is good busy, so I can go find Guanyi. I quickly got dressed and went downstairs, but Guanyi seemed to have already left. Left in the morning? I asked the butler, who shook his head. It was 3 in the morning. 3 o'clock. I was shocked. Then I heard the housekeeper say that last night Joe Zurin suddenly came to the guest room on the first floor and called out to the sleeping Guanyi to ask him to leave. Frowned at that. Isn't Guanyi angry? If someone kicked me out in the middle of the night, I would definitely curse. The housekeeper lowered his voice. He won't be angry, or he doesn't dare to be angry. At this time, Mrs. Joe walked in from outside and saw me eating, carrying something over. "Evening, Ning. This is the cake my son made for you to try." Mrs. Joe, who looks like Guanyi, kept showing off to me, and I remembered that Guanyi is the illegitimate child of the Zhou family, another person that Joe Zurin hates. So I got into trouble, and I got into mega trouble. I looked at the familiar framed flowers on the cake and spoke expectantly, "Auntie Zhou, can you give me Guanyi's contact information?" Mrs. Joe didn't quite understand why I wanted Guanyi's contact information. I told her that I wanted to help her and Guanyi get Joe Zulin's approval. When Mrs. Joe heard this, she immediately gave me Guanyi's phone number, and was so moved that she almost shed tears in front of me. "Evening, thank you." Getting the cell phone number, I hurriedly added a friend and waited for Guanyi to pass, but after a day of waiting, he still hasn't passed. My girlfriend was even more furious than I was. "Little brute, now you're a shrinking violet. Send me his number, let's see how I can clean him up." My best friend managed to ask Guanyi out, and we sat in a cafe owned by my best friend. The moment he heard that I was pregnant, Guanyi's eyes flashed with unusual excitement. "You're really pregnant?" I nodded my head slowly. It was actually a bit hard to talk about it. After all, this is not something honorable. Looking again at Guanyi hugging his arms, fingers pointing to his cheek in thought, he suddenly laughed out softly. "What does that have to do with me? Shouldn't you go find the child's father?" My girlfriend and I froze. "Guanyi, you don't suspect it's my child?" I was instantly a little embarrassed. My girlfriend slapped the table heavily and got up to whip him, but I pulled back. "We were all drugged that day." Guanyi shrugged his shoulders, the corner of his mouth lifted up a sneer. "Then can you guarantee it's mine? Besides, you're married. Why don't you suspect your husband?" His words directly ripped away the truth, leaving me instantly groundless. Remembering what Joe Zurin did to me yesterday, regret and guilt tore at my heart. In fact, I didn't look for Guanyi because I wanted him to take responsibility. Rather, I didn't want him to use this opportunity to threaten and hurt Joe Zurin. Cheating was my fault. I shouldn't have hurt him. Considered for a long time, and finally sent a text message to Joe Zurin. Frowny face, "I want to divorce you." It was less than 7 o'clock in the evening when Joe Zurin came back. Together with him were my parents and brother, each of whom had prepared a gift for me. It wasn't until I saw "Happy Anniversary" on the cake that I remembered that today was the first anniversary of my marriage to Joe Zurin, and on this day, I had filed for divorce with him. The feeling of guilt peaked at this moment. I was about to open my mouth when Joe Zurin pulled up my hand, picked up a bracelet and put it on my wrist, and kissed my forehead. "Happy anniversary, wife." The first time he showed his love in front of so many people, I felt like my whole body was about to burn and whispered, "I didn't prepare a gift." He smiled down and rubbed my head, taking my hand and interlocking his fingers. "I've already received it at the dinner table." Joe Zurin's father also appeared. Because the father-son relationship is not very good, usually Joe's father lives in the suburban villa, rarely come back. Coupled with the fact that Joe's father is naturally serious and doesn't smile, I'm a little afraid of him, so I didn't dare to retort when he urged me to have a child. "You've been married for a year, and you're still not planning to have a child." Joe Zurin, "Don't bother worrying about it. It's our private matter." The atmosphere was awkward for a moment, and my parents rushed out to round off the conversation before Joe's father's face didn't completely darken and he chatted about other topics. My brother sat beside me, not chatting with me in a Whisper with a sideways glance, you haven't been found out by Jo Soo-rin yet. I turned around and gave him a look that meant to tell him to hurry up and shut up. My brother caught a shrimp into my bowl. It's fine if you hide it well. Almost choked, covering my mouth and coughing violently for a few times, when suddenly Jo Soo-rin's inquiry came from my ear, what did brother-in-law say to my wife? My brother immediately changed to a fake smile and disliked it in a conspiratorial manner. Big sister's husband, I'm just concerned about my sister's life and whether she's happy or not. Jo Soo-rin, you can ask me directly, brother, it's not convenient. I'd rather ask my sister. Jo Soo-rin took a tissue to help me wipe my face, his tone detached. Just ask me, I know my wife best. The two looked at each other, as if there were electric currents in their eyes. I sat in the middle and helplessly rolled my eyes. After a year these two people still can't see each other. After the guests dispersed, Jo Soo-rin pulled me back to my room. After I showered, he wanted to put stretch mark cream on me. I refused him. Jo Soo-rin, divorce agreement you prepare. He moved and looked up at me, his tone flat. You really want a divorce? I nodded quickly and then avoided looking at him for fear of hiccups in the next second. Is that person better than me? Jo Soo-rin suddenly asked. I was stunned and blurted out, no. Jo Soo-rin's voice rustled. If he is not good, then why do you want to divorce me? What did I do wrong that made you bored? I couldn't answer, especially the last sentence. And the silence. Jo Soo-rin gently lifted up his shirt to rub stretch mark cream on me. And when he was done, he suddenly took out a book lay on his side beside me, and read to my stomach. The moment I realized that he was doing fetal education, I was hot, and stammered, she is still small, cannot hear. Jo Soo-rin hummed and said seriously, but I want to do it. The divorce was put off, but the pregnancy backlash also crept in. After 2 days of vomiting to avoid Jo Soo-rin, I couldn't help but sneak to the hospital. However, when I stepped out of the ultrasound room, I saw my brother and parents running over, looking at me with nervous faces. Good boy, are you okay? Where's the baby? Is the baby still there? I froze in place, not realizing that they knew. My brother explained. It was Jo Soo-rin who said that his cell phone received a text message from your registered number, and when he rushed here, he got into a car accident and called me to come look for you. When I heard the words car accident, I blacked out for a moment and almost didn't stand still. My brother held me up and was about to tell me when a sharp aura suddenly approached me. I turned around and saw Jo Soo-rin with blood flowing from his forehead, his eyes scarlet as he looked at me. He grabbed my hand and placed it on my stomach, his voice shaking a little. Here is my child. It was me that day. My brain buzzed and I looked at him incredulously. Jo Soo-rin tugged my arm and slowly crouched down, then fell to the ground with a plop. Shouting came from around me, and the emergency doctor quickly rushed to move Jo Soo-rin, and the words I'm sorry still echoed in my ears. Before Jo Soo-rin woke up, Mrs. Jo came to the hospital, but she wasn't the only one. It was also Guan Yi, who was almost chased and beaten up by Qin Yao. He wasn't as bratty as before, wearing a black mask on his face and not saying a word. Guan Yi cast his eyes several times, trying to talk to me, directly ignored it. He left with Mrs. Jo and then doubled back. You know? I glared at him expressionlessly. Why did I think he was simple in the first place? Get out. Guan Yi glanced at me leaning against the wall, his tone careless. That day after your herbal medicine, I took you to the hotel, wanting to get back at Jo Soo-rin. I hated him and wanted to see him go crazy, but I didn't expect Jo Soo-rin to come quickly and snatch you back. No wonder that day's difference confused me. There was an indescribable familiarity. So that person was Jo Soo-rin. So the first time at the bar, you approached me on purpose too. My breath was unsteady, my fingers clenched into fists. Guan Yi did not deny it and suddenly sneered, your relationship was already unstable. It doesn't count as me seducing you, does it? Looking at this face with confusing features, I gasped and laughed. Going forward, I slapped twice on the pretty face. You really can't seduce me with this face, so get lost. I even hit and kicked this little brat to blast him out of the hospital room. An hour after the operation, Jo Soo-rin slowly woke up, looked at me and suddenly pulled up the corners of his mouth and smiled, a smile that was shockingly handsome. But I didn't have time to appreciate it, and asked in a cold timbre, Jo Soo-rin, don't you trust me? Jo Soo-rin furrowed his brows and spoke arduously, I have never doubted you. I raised the question in my mind, aren't you infertility? Jo Soo-rin raised his pale face, his throat was dry and mute. I have been in treatment. That check you saw was from before. I turned my head and pursed my lips. It was shocking to accidentally turn it over at the time, so I didn't think to look at the date and put it back. Even so, the fact that he was deliberately hiding the truth was still hard for me to understand. Did you not tell me because you wanted to get back at me for my transgressive behavior? or did you want to take advantage of my guilt to give birth to a child and then get a divorce? Joe Surin suddenly shouted in agitation. Neither. He tried to get up from the bed, but his body hadn't recovered well, and he coughed violently, his heartbeat soaring to 150. Attending doctor just arrived at the door on his rounds, pushed open the door and rushed in to press him back into bed. The patient can't be so agitated. What are the family members doing? Joe Surin's face is flushed, laboriously shouted, wife. I lowered my head and retreated to the door and said to him, let's calm down for a while. After leaving from the hospital, I went straight back to my house, because the pregnancy reflexes were so severe. I threw up almost every time until the bile ended, and why mom and dad were in tears because they were heartbroken for me, and my brother. Angry and heartbroken, turned around and went out to call Joe Surin to scold him. Then he advised me, be good, don't have this baby, okay? It doesn't matter if you don't have a child. My brother will support you for the rest of your life. I nestled in my mom's arms and shed tears, not knowing what to do. In the past few days at home, my mom was the one who helped me apply stretch mark cream. Boy, how's mommy's technique? I smiled at my mom. Very good. Mom looked at me and gently stroked my face with her palm. Then, why isn't my good boy happy? I hung my eyes and didn't say anything. Mom suddenly asked, is it because you want to Surin? I couldn't pretend to be strong in front of my mom. Tears swished down my face. Mom wiped my tears in a panic and comforted me. I'll call him and ask him to come and see you. But when Joe Surin came, I wouldn't let him in and wouldn't talk to him. A mom stood inside the door, took my hand, and said to the outside, Surin, warning is fine, she doesn't want to see you. You go back first, Joe. Surin was silent for a few seconds. I know. He seemed to put something on the steps and added, I bought some tonic. It's hard for you to take care of her. Mom looked back at me and said, yes, I will. Joe Surin, I'll be going then. Mom tugged on my hand. I turned around and walked away. Every day afterward, Joe Surin would bring in tonic, and every time, he would be shut out, still not feeling relieved. My brother gave him a pregnancy guide to memorize outside the door. I looked at the blinding sun outside and glared at my brother, asking him with my mouth, what are you doing? My brother grunted, memorize it louder. You haven't eaten. If the door wasn't locked, I was really afraid that my brother would get beaten up. What I didn't expect was that Joe Surin didn't resist and even raised his voice. Don't know if the sunlight is too strong. I stood for a while and fainted. My brother hurriedly picked me up and sat on the sofa, and outside the door. Joe Surin heard the sound and forced the door to break in. With a face full of anxiety, he came to my side. Evening. Ninga brother turned around to get me an ice pack. Joe Surin bent down and wiped away the sweat on my forehead with his hand, nervously chattering. Are you standing at the door too? Why didn't you tell me? I'll take you to the hospital, okay? I closed my eyes and smelled a faint citrus odor, couldn't help but inhale deeply, realized it was wafting from him, and quickly closed my eyes again. I recovered. My brother began to drive him away. You go, good boy. See you guilty of nausea. Joe Surin slowly stood up and stared at me for a while, then took the pregnancy guide and left, because I hadn't been back to Joe's house for a long time. Joe's father suddenly called me, sued Guanyi quite a few petty complaints in front of him, and Joe's father realized that this matter of illegitimate child could not be hidden for a long time. Few days later, Guanyi sent a message to me to apologize. I ignored it. He directly found my house. I closed the door. He secretly followed me out again. When Chinya didn't come, he suddenly appeared in front of me and chased after me to apologize. Sister-in-law, I'm sorry. Please forgive me for the wrong things I did before. I indifferently said, who is your sister-in-law? I don't have illegitimate child brother. Don't you feel ashamed? Guanyi's face stiffened, then lowered his head and laughed at himself. Shame on. But not my mother's fault. It is Zhou Changhai lied to my mother to give birth to me. It is he who made my mother become the third party that everyone spurned. She couldn't accept it at first, made a scene and separated, but in the end she couldn't separate, accelerated my pace and left the milk tea store. Already soft-hearted, I didn't want to listen to his story to influence my judgment. Guanyi followed me like a demented man, but Joe Surin is very happy. He can have the surname Zhou. He can live in the Zhou family. He can see his father at any time, unlike me who has a father for a while, and then becomes an uncle for a while. Couldn't help but turn around and dislike him, because Joe Surin's mom is Joe Dad's original wife. These are what he deserves. Guanyi, then what's wrong with me? Can I choose to be born? I snorted coldly. Then what's wrong with Joe Surin? His mom didn't want him. His dad secretly had other children. Even if he targeted you, it's just a debt that your mom and your dad owed together. Guanyi was silent for a moment. Yes, pay for father's sins. I owe him, pay back for the rest of my life. Seeing him gritting his teeth in defiance made my stomach ache with anger. Turning around, I angrily walked up the escalator, when suddenly a little boy who had just learned to walk rushed in front of me and was about to fall down the steps, picked him up violently and turned around and pushed the child into the arms of his mother, who was running towards me, but I lost my center of gravity and my body fell backward. The moment I fell, I wondered if I would break a bone, wondered if I'd landed on my head or somewhere else, and then almost subconsciously shielded my stomach with my hands, while thinking randomly. A curse exploded in my ears. "You crazy bastard," Guano cursed and pulled me to level ground. "You're crazy, not protecting your head, not protecting your face, protecting your stomach." I was shocked and looked at him dumbfounded, and suddenly laughed. Guan Yi continued to curse and pulled out his cell phone to contact Zhou Su-rin. Shortly after Zhou Su-rin arrived at the mall, his eyes raked over me quickly before rushing to Guan Yi and grabbing him by the collar, cursing angrily, "You're looking for death, Guan Yi." Guan Yi was clothed, strangling neck, gasping for breath. Shove a few times did not push him away. Open mouth cursed, "You have a disease." It is I saved your wife." Zhou Su-rin's eyes glared. "If you hadn't followed her, would she have had an accident?" Guan Yi was this originally hate their own brother made angry laugh. "Let go of the hand does not struggle, let loose a loud laugh. You fucking obsessed with love one." Zhou Su-rin swung his fist, was about to hit. I held his hand. "Zhou Su-rin, he saved me." Guan Yi took the opportunity to push Zhou Su-rin away, full of annoyance. "Look at your wife, almost falling to her death and still protecting her stomach. Damn it, 1 and 2 are sick. Are children that important? Don't give birth to a child if you're not in a good relationship." Zhou Su-lin's face turned white as he heard this and anxiously held my hand to ask if I was all right. Felt fine, but he was scared, so he took me to the hospital, checked my whole body, and then he brought me back to the Zhou family. I sat in the car and didn't get down. Zhou Su-rin bent down and asked in a low voice, "Have you lost your anger?" I frowned. "Am I angry?" Zhou Su-rin nodded. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't hide it from you. Infertility is something I checked out a few years ago. At first I didn't plan to get married and didn't want to have children, so I never treated it. Later when I got married to you, I started to receive treatment, but you asked me to bring it every time, so I wasn't ready to tell you. I know about Guano approaching you. I warned him not to approach you, but I was happy to see you. That day, he called me to provoke, said you like him, so arrived and snatched you back. You became unlike you." I was shocked and sad. "You seem to really like him." Being labeled as liking, I immediately denied it seriously. I didn't like him and never wanted anything to happen with him. The drug reaction took control of me, and nothing I said or did was out of volition. Didn't know it was you. So when I found out I was pregnant, the first thing I thought of was that I was sorry and wanted to divorce you. I'm sorry, it's my fault. It's because I don't have the skills to make you like me." Zhou Su-rin lowered his head again and murmured like he was apologizing to me. These words instantly made my heart become thin, slightly skimming my head. "Could it be that you know I lied to you and still choose to forgive me?" He gripped my ankle. "It will. Because it wasn't your fault." And my heart felt like it was clutched tightly and I turned my head to look at him. "Wife, can you come home with me?" Being looked at by him with puppy-like eyes, I couldn't resist and extended my hand towards him. Zhou Su-rin instantly spread his face and carried me out of the car towards the yard. That night, Zhou Su-rin announced to everyone that I was pregnant. Mrs. Zhou was most surprised, and the joy in her eyes was obvious. Quickly looking for a nutritionist from the postnatal care center, but Zhou Su-rin didn't accept her good intentions. "She has her own mother, no need for you to worry." Mrs. Zhou was public absolute pouting face a burst of black, a burst of white. Finally still find their own steps hurriedly away. I slightly wrinkled eyebrows. Zhou Su-rin thought I was uncomfortable. Warm voice consolation. "My mom died early, did not help you, aggrieved you, but there is me." Zhou Su-rin mentioned his mother for the first time. I was a little surprised, so I continued to chat. "My mom said that Mom Zhou is a great beauty." Zhou Su-lin let out a light smile. "But I don't look like her at all." Zhou's mother is a big beauty, and Zhou's father is a business married right after graduation. After the marriage, Zhou's mother soon became pregnant, but during the pregnancy, she suffered from depression and gave birth to the child with great difficulty, leaving him with a nanny. As a child, Zhou Su-rin was slow to move and spoke late. And because he had no parents to keep him company, he developed a quiet personality. When he was 10 years old, his mother pulled her bags in front of him and left. And then came back 5 years later as a handful of ashes, and it was he who buried his mother with his own hands. It was also the same day that Zhou Su-rin learned the truth about his father's cheating, that he had a child outside. And that's why his mother left the house and didn't even want him, because I look like my father. That's why my mother didn't want me. I hate Guano, besides because he's illegitimate child he looks like his mother, had a mixed feeling in my heart, as if I saw a warm picture of Mrs. Zhou caring for Guanyi, while Zhou Surin stood by and watched silently, sad and lonely, not knowing how to comfort him. I slowly reached out and traced his features, spoke softly. Zhou Sulin, do you think the baby will look like you? A trace of loneliness rose in the bottom of Zhou Sulin's eyes, but you won't let me be an unexpected father. I almost bit my tongue. Eyes round, be an unexpected father, not a good word. For the first time, Zhou Surin showed a blank expression, then picked up his phone to search, and suddenly held his forehead in helpless silence for a while, and then looked up and apologized to me. That night, Zhou Surin kept apologizing, which dispersed the little bit of aggression in my heart. In the 4th month of my pregnancy, I stopped vomiting. I started to have a big appetite and wanted to eat everything. Zhou Suilin was worried about my gestational diabetes, so he kept my diet under control, had to go around shaking people, and no one dared to answer the phone. Only Guanyi didn't pull the plug on me, and came to me at all hours. The 33rd time I called him at home, Guanyi directly kneeled down and begged me, sister-in-law, can you stop looking for me? I asked why. With my stomach in my hands. Guanyi's face was wooden. My brother is jealous. Just to make him jealous. I hemmed and hawed. He'll get angry when he's jealous of you, and then he'll get angry with him, and when I'm angry he'll cajole me, and then he'll buy me ice cream. Guanyi, you directly want cannot, do you think he'll give it to me? I gave him a blank look. For a mouthful of food I'm easy. Guanyi helplessly rubbed his head, then took out his cell phone from his pocket, said to Zhou Surin, who was on the phone, brother, did you hear me? In the end, Zhou Surin bought me ice cream. When my stomach was very big, Zhou Surin didn't feel comfortable with me at home, nor did he feel comfortable with me going out, so he took me to work with him all the time. During that time in the company, I got a lot of benefits for the female compatriots, and added a luxurious nursing room. Sometimes Zhou Surin sitting on the sofa in reading documents, I climbed into his arms. No rules and regulations of the messy pet kisses his jaw, throat knot. He narrowed his eyes and let me play for a while, then lowered his head to seize the initiative. He kissed for a long time and almost got into a firefight. Wife, be safe. I had to bite him to get it out. The response was his gentle touch and kisses. On the day the baby was born, everyone cried except me. Rubbed Zhou Surin's red eyes and laughed at him. It's no good for a dad to cry. He laughed and pressed his face against mine. I love you, honey. When the baby was 1 year old, I asked him a question. Don't you love your baby? Why do you ask? You kiss me every day, not the baby. Don't you love the baby? No. Am I not kissing my baby? You're so annoying. Do you hate me again? My daughter suddenly started to cry. Zhou Surin didn't move, so I pushed him. Go coax her. I've been coaxing her all day, and she doesn't act like me at all. I complained as Zhou Suilin kissed me, like me, was carried to the crib by him and looked at my daughter, who was crying like a kitten. She cries so much. Zhou Surin picked up his daughter. Yes, I love to cry. I poked her face with my finger, but I still love her. Zhou Surin wrapped his arms around me, his voice endlessly gentle. Well, I also love the baby and you.